The palace has always echoed with the quiet strength of Sheikh Hamdan, a man born not just of royal lineage, but of poetic depth and unmatched sincerity. Yet, behind the grandeur of golden halls and falcon flights lies the human vulnerability of a man who loves with all the chambers of his heart. His girlfriend, a mysterious soul with eyes like storm-kissed seas, entered his life not seeking the crown, but the man beneath it. She never asked for luxury, never cared for limelight. All she desired was a place within his unguarded silence. But today, questions flutter like anxious birds across the palace. Will she stay, or is she preparing to leave? The truth is, love in the royal world is not wrapped in silk. It's scrutinized, tested, doubted, and often broken beneath the weight of expectations. Sheikh Hamdan, though revered by millions, still struggles in the dark with the simplest of questions: am I enough for her? For even with a kingdom behind him, the fear of losing her has shaken him in ways battles never did. Her recent quietness, her distant gaze, and the way she now walks alone through the palace gardens have not gone unnoticed. Something is shifting, and no crown can protect a heart from the tremors of loss. Those who truly know Sheikh Hamdan understand that he doesn't beg for affection, nor does he chase shadows. Yet with her, he's different. He pauses his meetings just to hear her laughter echo down the hall. He rewrites entire verses of his poetry just to find a line that makes her smile. He becomes the man behind the sheikh, stripped of title, dressed only in devotion. Still, love is a fragile guest, and lately, it seems as though she's packing her bags in the quiet corners of his life, preparing to vanish without a sound. His heart remembers the beginning, how her eyes lit up like golden lanterns when he first recited his poetry to her. How she believed in the man behind the tradition, how she held his scars and told him he was more than the son of a ruler. But something has changed. Rumors swirl like desert winds. Perhaps it's the pressure, or perhaps it's the shadow of the past. Perhaps she feels unseen now, not by him, but by the world that scrutinizes her every move. What was once a private romance is now a public question. Sheikh Hamdan once said in a private note, "I can survive storms, but not the silence of someone who once called my soul home." These words now haunt his late-night rides across the desert. The stillness of the dunes mirrors the silence she's given him lately. He doesn't want to imprison her with expectations, nor does he want her to stay out of duty. He simply wishes to know if the love they built still lives beneath her quiet sighs. There are days she stands at the balcony, watching the falcons rise and soar, and he wonders if she envies their freedom. Not from him, but from the cage that royalty weaves around those who dare to love someone like him. He sees her fingers tracing invisible lines on the marble rail, lost in thought, and his chest tightens. Because he knows that if she decides to go, he won't stop her. But he will never recover. The staff whispers softly now, stepping lighter in the corridors. Everyone feels the tension, the slow unraveling of what was once unbreakable. Even the horses in the royal stables seem restless, sensing the sorrow in their master's footsteps. Sheikh Hamdan hasn't written in days. His journals lie open, the ink dried halfway through unfinished verses. He waits for her to speak. He hopes she'll say, "I'm just tired, not leaving." But each day that passes without those words feels like a final goodbye cloaked in silence. No one dares ask her directly. She is respected, loved by the people, seen as the soft light that balances Sheikh Hamdan's fire. But even the people have begun to wonder. They notice she's stopped attending official gatherings. Her social media, once filled with poetry and sunsets, has gone quiet. Some speculate she's hurt. Others think she's protecting her peace. But the only truth that matters is the one she keeps locked behind her guarded expressions. Sheikh Hamdan still looks at her like a poet studies the moon. Even in her silence, he listens for the beat of her heart in every corner of the palace. He prays she will remember the nights they spoke of forever, of building a life that defied politics and fear. He knows she is a woman of strength, not someone to be caged or begged. And that's what makes this so painful. Because he can't fight for her like he would in war. This battle must be hers to resolve. There are moments, fleeting and bittersweet, where she reaches for his hand without realizing it. In those moments, the world seems to pause, and he dares to believe she's still with him. But then she pulls away, as if caught between two realms, one that loves him and one that longs to escape the noise that surrounds him. He understands her conflict more than she knows. And yet, he aches for her decision, for the verdict only she can declare. Some say that love isn't always meant to last forever, that even the deepest hearts must sometimes part to grow. But Sheikh Hamdan has always believed in the power of love to endure storms. He believes that even if she chooses to walk away, he will carry her in every poem, every sigh of wind, every lonely prayer whispered into the night. He will never ask her to return. But if she does, he will never let her go again. So now, the palace holds its breath, waiting. The sun sets a little slower over Dubai. The poems rest incomplete, and the falcons circle the skies as though searching for something lost. Sheikh Hamdan stands alone, not as a ruler, not as a prince, but as a man quietly asking the universe one question. Will she stay, or has she already left me in her heart? She is called Shama al-Falsi, a name now whispered throughout every corridor of the palace, spoken with a reverence that reflects both admiration and confusion. For those who've witnessed the way Sheikh Hamdan looks at her, there's no doubt she holds a place in his soul that no title nor legacy could ever replace. She wasn't chosen by the people or crafted by royal traditions, she was chosen by the rhythm of his heart. But as the days stretch longer and her silence deepens, the world watches with bated breath. Will Shama al-Falsi stay by his side, or will she leave behind a man who gave her not just poems, but his very... Shama wasn't like the others. She didn't melt beneath the weight of power or chase the allure of fame. Instead, she walked into Sheikh Hamdan's life with humility and a strange kind of grace, the kind that cannot be taught, only born within. Her laughter once echoed through the marble halls like the ringing of silver bells, reminding him of the beauty in simplicity. Yet lately, the halls echo only his footsteps. Her presence, once warm as the desert sun, feels distant, like a fading star across an endless sky. Sheikh Hamdan remembers when he first fell in love with her. It wasn't her beauty, though that was undeniable. It was her stillness, the way she could sit beside him without saying a word and yet make him feel completely understood. She asked him once if he ever feared being loved only for his crown. He answered, "Every day, until you came." That moment changed everything. But now, he questions whether the world around them, the cameras, the gossip, the pressure, is stealing from them what they once guarded so preciously. Shama al-Falsi was never made for the noise. While Hamdan thrives under the public gaze, her spirit leans toward quiet gardens, handwritten letters, and late-night poetry under stars. There's a sorrow in her now, a conflict she cannot conceal. Some say she's wrestling with expectations, others claim her heart is elsewhere. But Sheikh Hamdan knows better. He knows her well enough to see she is torn, not between love and hate, but between staying loyal to her heart and surviving a world she never wanted to be part of. Behind closed doors, they've had long conversations. Her voice doesn't rise in anger, it trembles with uncertainty. She tells him, "I love you more than anything, but I feel like I'm losing myself here." And those words, they pierce him deeper than any betrayal ever could. Because he knows that love is not possession, it is freedom. But how do you free the person you love when every fiber of your being wants to hold on? The kingdom speculates. The royal court pretends not to notice, but even the guards at the gates exchange knowing glances. Rumors twist into truths when left unanswered. Some say Shama is preparing to leave for London. Others whisper that her parents have urged her to return to a quieter life. But Sheikh Hamdan has never tried to chain her down. He believes that love, when true, must be allowed to choose. He just prays, silently and fiercely, that she will choose him again. He's begun writing again, though the verses don't come easily. His most recent poem was never shared online, never read aloud. It ends with the line, "If you must go, leave slowly, so I can memorize your shadow." Those close to him say he recites it softly before sleep, as if trying to prepare his soul for the unthinkable. Shama reads the poem, eyes misting, but says nothing. Her silence speaks of love, of fear, of decisions not yet made. In a recent private gathering, when asked about Shama, Sheikh Hamdan responded with a pause so heavy it silenced the room. He finally said, "She is still here, and so is my hope." That single sentence spread like wildfire, igniting both sympathy and concern across the nation. For if a man like Hamdan, admired by millions, could still fear abandonment, what does that say of love's vulnerability? Shama has not yet made her decision known. She walks the palace garden at dusk, a journal in her hand, her eyes often cast toward the horizon. Sheikh Hamdan watches from a distance, not wanting to disrupt her thoughts. He knows that love can't be dictated. It must be rediscovered, over and over, through storms and silences alike. He waits not as a prince, but as a man who once held her hand and believed that forever was a promise they could keep. He no longer writes poems for the public. His verses are now folded into paper cranes, scattered on her dressing table, each one carrying a message she never asked for but always finds. One of them read, "You taught me how to love freely. If that freedom means letting you go, then I will, but I will never stop waiting." The palace staff found her crying softly over that crane. She never explained why. Still, Shama hasn't left. Her things remain unpacked. Her scent lingers in the room they once shared laughter in. There is a war between her soul and her spirit. One still loves him deeply, the other craves peace that may lie outside the palace walls. Sheikh Hamdan continues to rise each morning, hoping today is the day she will look at him not with hesitation, but with the same fire she once had when she called him hers. And so, the story lingers in limbo. The world watches a love teetering on the edge, not of betrayal, but of two people torn between reality and the remnants of a once unshakable bond. Will Shama al-Falsi leave Sheikh Hamdan? Only time will tell. But if she does, it will not be a tale of bitterness, but of the kind of love that was so powerful, even its ending would deserve 1,000